Hello, my name is Dan and welcome to my garden here in Essex in the southeast of the UK. So I'm growing some different varieties of strawberries here, and today I'm going to be making a video and I'm going to give you a few little tips, a few little ideas, suggestions and some information on how you can hopefully grow some nice strawberries of your own. To me, you have got three different types of strawberry. You have summer fruiting strawberries, of which these are, which will give you strawberries throughout the summer. You can get early, mid and late fruiting varieties within that. You have also got perpetual, or known as ever-bearing strawberries, which will give you a successional crop throughout the season. You generally don't get too many at once, and they can be smaller than summer fruiting varieties, but they're good for a longer period of cropping. And the other variety you've got are wild strawberries, otherwise known as woodland strawberries or alpine strawberries. These summer fruiting specimens here are all container grown, so many of these I've actually taken from runners myself. So strawberry growing can also be a very budget friendly way of producing your own fruit. Down here I have some more summer fruiting varieties and I'll let you have a look. Now this is variety Malling Centenary, and this has been described as the strawberry of the future. They are grown commercially, they're a nice shape and they're very easy to pick. You can pick them very quickly, so I can see how they are of such value commercially. And the strawberries are really nice taste as well. I think they were bred to have more of the old-fashioned flavour and with the size of modern varieties, so they keep their flavour as well. So Malling Centenary, and they also store well as well, so maybe if you're thinking about a strawberry that you can keep for a while, this could indeed be it. Strawberry plants like a sandy loamy soil, pH of about 5.3 to 6.8. I've not worried too much about the pH of the soil here because many of you have seen how well fruit does here in general. So well draining. So if you've got something like clay soil, you could consider growing them in containers. You saw my ones in containers earlier. A raised bed, something like that, where which you can control it a little bit. You want a lower content of nitrogen as well, and the reason for this is because you want to be encouraging more fruiting and flowering as opposed to more leaf production. Okay, because leaf production, it's not giving what you want. What you want is strawberries. So what you can do at the start of the year is when you feed them or before you set them, you can apply something like a high potassium fertilizer. Try and use an organic one if you can. That's what I like to do. The ones you saw earlier, I actually used wood ash. You do have to be careful of overusing wood ash because it can alkaline the soil a little bit, and strawberries, like most fruit, does prefer something a little bit more acidic. So maybe before you put your new plants in and at the start of the season, a little bit of wood ash is good, but have a look around for an organic high potassium fertilizer, but avoid something that has too much nitrogen because we want to have plenty of flowers, plenty of fruit and not too many leaves. So there are different ways in which you can source your plants. You can quite often just go to a garden centre, or you can go to a DIY store and buy pot-grown specimens. So what you could do with those is you can plant them at any time of the year. Another option you can get is cold stored plants. I remember when I worked on a commercial farm where they produced fruit, I think 1999, so not that long ago, he used to get his cold stored plants, and that was around late spring, early summer, so they went in then. You can also buy bare rooted ones over the, I think it's late autumn to sort of early springtime, and that can quite often be the cheapest way of getting them because you can get quite a few in like a blister pack or whatever, and quite often you can get them from the budget places, so can be very good value indeed. Now with regards to them, you want to be planting them if you can when the risk of frost has passed, because you don't want to damage the sort of new growth, so to speak. So what you want to do really is, if you get them, say February time when you can still get a risk of frost, you could maybe pot them up and then put them in a garage or a shed, ideally with a window, something like that, where they're getting a bit of sunlight but they're not getting the frost, and that could maybe help. So yep, and you can also, as I stated before, you can propagate your own from runners. I'll demonstrate how you take a runner. So this plant has put out a runner here, and what you would do is literally just get that like that, Get a pot of multi-purpose compost, what I like to use. You put that in like that, and then you could put a stone or a piece of wire or maybe even a tent peg down so that then roots. Then when it's rooted at the end of the season, you literally just cut it off with a pair of scissors, and then you've got yourself a free strawberry plant. You can see how the runner comes from the plant there. So you only want to take the first runner off of each stem, if you will, because as they go on they can get weaker. So take the first one and you should end up with a nice strong plant. When you're setting your strawberry plants, you want to have the crown like this. You don't want to have the crown under the growing medium because that can actually kill the plant. So you can see it's just a little bit proud of the compost within this container, and if you do that, you should do well. Ideally you want your strawberry plants about 1 foot to 1.5 feet apart. That's about 30 to 45 centimetres. So you can see these Malling centenary here are about 1 foot apart. Now went a little bit closer here with the Royal Sovereign, because Royal Sovereign are a much smaller plant. So Royal Sovereign is actually a heritage variety bred in the year 1892 by Thomas Laxton. Now they're not heavy cropping, but they really are exquisite. They have an exquisite taste. So if you want that old-fashioned strawberry taste, then Royal Sovereign could be the one for you. And all these here I took from runners. So once again, some budget gardening. The majority of strawberries grown commercially are grown under cover, so in polytunnels, for example. And the reason for this is because high levels of water, rain, combined with humid environments can cause disease, both of the leaves and also the fruit. So by growing them under cover, you can sort of lower the risk of that. But if you're growing them outside like this, you know, and the rain falls, then, you know, unless you're going to sort of temporarily cover them, then the rain is going to fall. So what you can do, if you want to avoid the fruit and also the leaves from sitting in too much moisture, you can put something like straw around the bottom like that, so that the fruit rests on that, so it's not sitting in loads of moisture. In fact, even if you're growing your strawberries under cover, it can be good to put straw underneath them. And this also has the effect, it can keep off slugs in my experience as well, because the slugs don't like to move over the sort of straw too much. So that can be a very beneficial thing to do. So another little tip that you can do is you can actually put sharp sand around the areas where you are growing your plants. Plenty of it. That way you could also use something like gravel or horticultural grit, something like that. Put it around, and slugs don't like moving over that, so that can help keep slugs off to minimise slug damage. Right, now one big pest for strawberries and indeed many other fruits and vegetables are the birds. So that's one great thing about growing your strawberries in a polytunnel like this. If you're growing them outside, you can put a net over the top. I've been using horticultural fleece in the back garden to cover mine. It's not ideal fleece at this time of year because it can help to increase the sort of humidity and could potentially lead to some disease, but that's what I've got left, so there we are. So netting is good. You could grow them under a cloche, something like that, or grow them under cover like this. So for my ones under cover, I've been watering them about 2 or 3 times a week. Now I water them quite heavily. I really make sure that I give them a good deep watering, because at this time of year they really do require the water to swell their berries, and if you want nice juicy strawberries, plenty of water is good. So 2 or 3 times a week if you can, and I like to use rainwater. I like to keep the growing medium of container grown strawberries just slightly damp. You don't want it sodden because they don't like that either, but just so you can feel a nice little bit of dampness, and that's good. Don't let the growing medium dry out, because that can be very stressful for the plant, and you could end up getting smaller berries. The plant may even not produce berries at all, and you could even lose the plant. So do not let your strawberry plants dry out. The majority of strawberry plants are self-fertile, meaning they can produce fruit from their own pollen. But if you're growing them under cover, maybe the bees can't get to them, or the wind and the rain can't help to move the pollen within the flower for pollination, you could consider doing it yourself with a paintbrush if you want to sort of make it more likely you're going to get a nice crop. If strawberry flowers are not pollinated properly, you can end up with funny shaped fruit, or indeed no fruit at all. So growing under cover, a little bit of help, and can be very beneficial to really make sure you increase your chances of getting that good crop. Of course, you can see I've got the door open here on the polytunnel, so that hopefully will let pollinating insects in to do their thing, and of course the wind will also get in here. You can even shake the plant a little bit to help move that pollen around. Just little things that can help you get a better crop. So how many hours of sunlight do strawberries need? Well, I would go no less than 6 ideally. Of course, if there's only one area you can grow them and that's only going to get 4 hours of full sunlight, then so be it. Make the best with what you've got. But if you can, no less than 6, and I would want to go for, ideally 12 or more would be brilliant, but of course that can't always happen. So try to keep it so that they get no less than 6 hours of full sunlight a day, and ideally if you can get around 10 or 12, that would be lovely. You could even consider growing them up against a south-facing wall or fence for that extra warmth that would provide. That could be good. I wouldn't suggest you grow them in a north-facing area, but we have to make the best with what we've got. So grow your strawberries. You can see some strawberry plants being grown here in Dalek compost bins. So this can be a great way to grow strawberries. If you've only got a small space that you can give to growing strawberries, maybe a small garden, small allotment, or simply you just do not want to be giving too much of your area up to growing strawberries. So you could have, say, early, mid, late and perpetual ever-bearing strawberries in different ones. So you can stagger whatever your cropping yielding period. If you've only got room for one, you could have early, mid and late fruiting varieties in one, and some ever bearers as well, perpetual strawberries, so just a few plants of each, which can be lovely. You can drape a net over the top in order to protect from birds, and you can put your straw in the top there to stop the strawberries from touching the growing medium underneath, which could cause disease, etc. You can see the holes have been drilled by using attachment that you get on or for a drill, so drill the holes in there. You can fill them with a suitable growing medium, so maybe if you're growing these in an area of clay soil which is not suitable because it doesn't drain properly to grow strawberries, you can put your growing medium on top, put your planter on, or your compost bin on top of the clay soil, well draining growing medium, grow your strawberries in that, no worries with regards to soil suitability. Quite often you can get these cheap or even for free, so look around the second-hand market, people quite often sell them, and sometimes people may even give them to you. And of course, just a really lovely way of growing strawberries. About 100 plants here, so you can imagine if they were being grown in the ground, just how much space that would take up. There we are. So strawberries being grown in Dalek compost bins. You can also propagate this way, so this plant here that's growing out of the compost bin there, you can see it's put out a runner, so you can put that in your pot of multi-purpose compost and that should root, so it's a suitable way of propagating as well. These are variety Cambridge favourite from the 1930s. They're from Cambridge in the UK, they're a very popular strawberry. These are variety El Santa. These are a Dutch variety selected in the year 1975, and they're actually a commercially grown variety. You can quite often buy them in supermarkets. They've got good keeping qualities, so that probably would be one of the reasons why they're grown commercially. This is Florence, and if I remember correctly, this is a late fruiting variety and quite heavy cropping. So for container grown strawberries, every 2 weeks or so during the growing season, you want to feed them if you can with a high potassium fertiliser. So this is one I've been using, and it's maxi crop, extract of seaweed plus organic tomato natural fertilizer. So I'm not affiliated with anyone, I'm not getting any money for recommending this. This is just the one I'm using this year, and so far I'm happy with the results. So I'll just bring this up so you can see it. There you go, you can see that one there. So hopefully you've made it to the end of this video. I really do appreciate your time watching this, if you've been able to bear with me the whole way through. But yeah, I've tried to give as much information as I can, which will hopefully help you to produce good crops of strawberries. Good memories for me, as I stated before, the year 1999, working on a strawberry farm, seeing all their lovely strawberries there. So a bit of sentimental value for me growing strawberries as well. So there we are. Any comments, questions, whatever you feel you would like to ask, please feel free to post those below. And I hope you're enjoying your summer, and I shall see you in the next video.